Okay, in this video I'm going to try and cover a little bit of the functionality of event maps. Event maps themselves could be literally an entire day's training course standalone. So I'm going to cover the functions, or as I like to call them, the building blocks of the actual system here, and then it's how creative the installer, the dealer, is to actually make these work and do weird and wonderful things. So the system itself has this event map option, and if I just click through, I've got a little bit of programming in the system, not a lot. You'll see that nearly every device, if I click it, has an event map option. So for a source, it can be when the source is selected or not selected. For a TV, it can be when the display is activated or not activated. For a zone, it can be when the zone's turned on, off, source changed, specific source selected, specific source unselected. And this follows the same pattern throughout the entire system. The security, the climate, the lighting, CCTV, they've all got event mappable options. And the way I like to think of it is, anything in the system can be connected to anything else in the system. Nothing's pigeonholed, nothing's locked down. If you want a TV to turn on at the same time a light or a security alarm triggers or something else, that is all very, very possible. So that's the event map. We then have a couple of tools, very, very basic programming-esque tools. We have a Boolean field, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, a true or false field. This is a value we can make up. So I have called this one Boolean, and for the purpose of this demo, I've just labelled it true and false because that's what it's capable of doing. So you could use this to record the value of something. So whenever the LAN gets sent a signal, receives an RS-232 code, notices something happens, it changes that from true to false or false to true. When that happens, we can have an event map trigger off. So when the Boolean is picked, or when the Boolean is set to true, and if I right click this Boolean, there we go. When it's set to true, I can create an event map that does something. When it is set to false, I can create an event map that does something. So I'll create an event map based on one of those, just to show you what an event map looks like. So this is it here. This is the first window, this is the main window you'll get with an event map. So we have the event, i.e. the trigger, a condition, which can be near enough anything else in the system, and then a command, which is pretty much everything in the system. So if something happens, conditioned around something else being present, has the following commands. So let's just say, let me go in and pick something here at random, audio zone controller, I want to turn it off. So when that Boolean is set to true, turn that unit off there. So that's a very basic event map, bit of a random one, but a very basic event map. That's how it's built up. So that's our flag field. We then have a variable field, and the variable field is a whole number, and it can be positive or negative. And again, we can use an event map. I'm going to create a new blank event map, and it comes in this window here. And what I'm going to do here is, I'm not going to worry about the events. I'm sure you get the idea of what the event is going to be. But for the variable, what I can have the variable do, if I go to variables here in the command window, you notice Booleans show up under variables as well. It's just a quirk of the system, that's where they're put. I can change the variable by a certain value. So this is going to subtract 1 from my variable, or I can add 7 to my variable, whatever I figure I put into there. And then I can set the variable, is the other option, to a specific figure. What I've seen dealers use this for in the past is for like a manual heating override, where they want to keep track of where the heating system is. As a thermostat asks for heat, or comes on, if you want to think of it in very, very basic terms, as a thermostat comes on in a room, the variable starts at 0, and then it adds 1. Every time a room comes on, the variable gets bigger. The event map we could then create for that would be, if it was that heating scenario, would be variables, whole number, if greater than or equal to number 1. So in the example of that heating, the trigger would be once the variable reaches 1 or more. And then, whenever the variable counts back down again, you can have one that when the variable equals 0 to turn off the heat source. Let's say that's one example for the variable. The other tool we have, or object we have to work with, is a countdown timer. Now there's nothing really to be set in the system settings of this. But what we have there is we have something that, let's just tie these together. I know they're random, let's just tie them together. So variable whole number, greater than or equal to 1, let's start a timer. So countdown timer, and I want to start my timer at 10 seconds. Okay? Timers are a bit of a two-stage function. Once you start them, I've seen dealers make the mistake of adding another function in here. That function here will happen a split second after the timer starts, not when the timer expires. If you right-click the timer expiring, or sorry, the timer, there's an event map for timer expired. And now this is the event map. I'll just close it here, I'll show you it here. This is the event map that will play out once the timer actually expires, so this is what you want to happen after the 10 seconds. And now finally, just to cover on conditions. Anything in the system can be in a condition, so once this number is greater than or equal to 1, if any zone of my S16 is on, it could be a condition. If it was lighting, or if I had lighting or anything else in the system, I could condition around that. You can also condition around a variable, so the flag can be in a true or false state. The whole number can be any of those conditions, and then the timer can either be active or not active. So hopefully from those 3 functions in the event maps, you can see there's actually quite a lot of sort of pseudo programming that can be done. There are a lot of objects, there's a lot of flexibility and creativity you can do with the system. I say hopefully that has covered the very, very basics of event mapping for you.